Hi there, this is the Brieftons new 7-blade spiralizer, and it is quite a package. I've already been using my spiralizer, it's been washed, but when I got it, the handle was off, the veg spike holder was off, I screwed them on, and this little holder tray was embedded on top of the slide. So what we want to do is simply just move this off. Now there will be some people who will store their spiralizers, and they will need to know how to do this. Now, first thing that I do is I oil the slide area with some extra virgin olive oil. Why? Because I want it to be able to more easily slide. Now the first thing that I do when I want to spiralize is that I take the latch over here that's currently on off and flip it towards the front to be on. To show you how well this spiralizer holds down on the board, I'm going to lift it. And as you can see, this is an 11.25 pound board or 5 kilo. This means that the pads are strong enough to hold the unit in place to do work. Let me talk about some of the accompaniments it comes with. It comes with a nice plastic box. The spiralizer rests on this. It comes to you by resting inside, nesting inside the whole thing. Some of you may want to put your spiralized vegetables in here, put them in the refrigerator. I myself usually do spiralizing sessions, and I do a lot of vegetables, and I use the Ziploc 1-gallon freezer bags. And to me, they're easier. To me, the plastic box is good for holding the blades that I'm going to use. What I do with the plastic box is I lay out the blades that I'm going to use. But first of all, let's look at the 3 new blades that this 7-blade system has. It has a 12mm blade, it has a wavy slicer, and it has a to die for curly fry. But actually, I think this one's the to die for, the wavy. I commonly use the flat, the 2mm, and the 5mm. So having these out inside this little box here helps me organize myself and then spiralize faster. The first thing that I want to do is I want to demonstrate the 3 new blades. So I'm going to put in the 12mm. The 12mm is going to spiralize something like a Pappardelle noodle. A Pappardelle noodle basically is long and flat, and it cuts like fettuccine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate this on a potato. So now we're going to use the 12mm Pappardelle, some of the long flat noodles, and we'll see what we have here. Notice that I sliced these down the middle to make chip-like pieces instead of spirals. Notice that Brieftons has a wonderful safety here, which prevents the blade shafts from being carved off. And there's very, very little waste on this. What I do is I chop everything up and we eat it. But instead of the glorious long spirals that Brieftons is known for and always has, you have the chips. Now, what can you do with these things? You have a choice of being able to cook them in many different ways. Number one, you could bake them, you could fry them, you could microwave them, or you could do the new thing, which is air frying. So this is what the Pappardelle looks like. Again, you can see that they are long, flat noodles. But of course, this is a spiralizer, so they're going to be round. The next blade is the Wavy. Take a look at the blade and note that this blade looks like this. A bunch of little corrugated bits on the blade. Now let's look and see what comes out after this spiralizes the vegetable. What I did is I did the same thing as I did on the 12. I sliced it down the middle to have chips instead of spirals. Now look at those. These look exactly like crinkly potato chips that you buy at the store. And believe me, when you cook these up, they taste divine. And I'll let you in on a little secret. After you air fry, bake, or microwave these, again, you've seasoned these beforehand. These are absolutely excellent in potato chip dips like French onion. This is wonderful. This is one of the best blades I have ever seen, and I'm very, very glad that Brieftons brought this new blade out. So remember, the Wavy one does the crinkly potatoes. Okay, this is going to be the last of the new blades. This is the curly fry. Now, before I start spiralizing, let me just mention here, there's no other spiralizer on the market that has true to size, crinkle, cut, or curly fried chips. This is the only one between 4.5 and 5 mil. All the other ones are off. This one is the only true one. So the curly fry here by Brieftons is the only one you can find. Let's see what that looks like. So you can see them come. And here we go. Brieftons spirals are always 3 to 5 feet long. Yeah, because this is a small unit, you'll have a little bit of shorter pieces at the beginning and end, but these are long because the blades are sharp. And the way that they form and manufacture the blades keep them long. One other thing that I want to say before I move on to the other slicers, the other blades that Brieftons has always had, and that would be to say that the 3 new blades, the 12 mil, the Wavy, and the curly, may not be blades that you would be using yourself today, but you may start to use them next week or next year. The point is that the 7 blades are meant for people to have the widest variety of blades possible. Some people say that they don't want to have all these blades to store, but this is what this unit has, the 7 blades. Again, they're thinking in the future that if you want to do something like the crinkle fries, you can do this. So this is an important thing to look at. There are 7 blades. You may use maybe 2, 3 or 4 constantly, but it allows you to grow. If you decide you want to do something, you can do it. Now, with current forms of baking, one of the current forms is air frying, and many of you are getting into air frying. You can spiralize your vegetables, then you can air fry them, and the food is excellent. For those of you that don't air fry, you can use a convection oven. Many of you have a convection either on your microwave or your toaster oven, depending on what brand and model you have. So what I want to do is now get back and talk about usual things that most people will probably usually spiralize, and that's the flat blade. I'm going to, first of all, start with the onion. And I classify my foods according to the colored density. So I'm starting out with something that doesn't stain, and I'll be working my way through something that does stain. So as you can see here, as always, Brieftons has 3 to 5 feet spirals. If you don't like them long, you can cut them. The next blade that I'm going to use is the 2 mil on the zucchini. Notice the size of it. I sometimes can have super long zucchinis and half of the slide will be off the unit. I can still use it, but I have to go very slowly and carefully. I've done it, and so can you. But anyway, I don't have to this time. The 2 mil is going to produce the angel hair pasta size or thickness. And I love this. I think most people do too. It's easy and seamless. And again, we have about maybe less than a half an inch, probably around a quarter an inch left here. And here we go. Guess how long these are? Most of them are 3 to 5 feet or more long. You'll get a few little curls because the zucchini is curled in those areas. And those are great for pizzas and soups and other things. Also on the flat, I have the bell peppers. So let's do the green. I stabilize the peppers with a skewer. Why? Because they're hollow. And what I do is when I get down about this far, I remove the skewer. Then I can take it down farther. And the usual 3 to 5 or more feet long spirals. Notice there's a yellowish light green pith. I just remove it. It's probably good for you, but I remove it. And then what I do is I deseed this, and what I do after or while I'm doing that is I just push the core out. I chop this up and we use this. And here's the last one that I'm going to use on the flat slicer today, and it is the red pepper. I always do the stainable foods last, so that I don't have the stains as long on the blades. I can just remove this at this point. Because it's already stabilized. Okay. Beautiful, long 3 to 5 or more foot long spirals. And last but not least, we're going to demonstrate the 5 mil on the sweet potato. Notice that I've peeled this, I've cut out little bits that poke in, and importantly, how did I do this? I used the Brieftons peeler, which is great. Three to 5 feet long. Okay, now we want to do the cleanup job. We're done with our entire session using multiple blades. Let's talk about some cleaning things that we need to look at. Sometimes you get some little bits stuck in the core. That's not a problem. You simply take a chopstick and poke the bits out. And so what we're going to do is show you how to do some cleaning. The cleaning is simple and straightforward. Use a little brush and use this on the front and the back side of the blades. Use some dish soap. And if you've used some staining foods, that's not a problem. You simply dip your brush into some baking soda and you remove the stains this way. If you have continuing discoloration after you do this, then put this on in 20-minute intervals. Leave the paste on for 20-minute intervals. And basically what you're doing is you're tempering the blade plates so that they don't discolor very much in the future. It's like a walk. Once you temper it, you've tempered it. Oftentimes people, though, do a yearly tune-up on their walks. So I use my plastic box then to keep all of my blades in. And these blades don't have any discoloration, so they're easy to wash. I don't need to use the baking soda. Easy, easy, easy to clean. I love this blade. Remember, Wavy slicer. Once you get your unit, you can make these beautiful crinkly chips in an air fryer. Buy your chip dip or make it. Everybody's going to come to your house. Again, some people will want to store some of their spiralized things, and they can do this because this is a nice plastic unit, nice plastic box. Again, when you store the unit, if you do, I never store my spiralizers because I'm using them constantly. I wouldn't want to waste my time storing and then unpacking it. But if I want to travel with it, that's what I would have to do. Make sure that you have a chopstick on hand and some small thin skewers so that you can easily do the peppers. What we do next is remove the slide. And because this has all of the vegetables on it, there's some staining. So this will be a good thing to show you that the stained foods can be removed. I don't care if there, firstly, I don't care if there's stains on my unit or not because I use my unit every day. Stains, okay. But they don't stain because I clean them. And last but not least is the base. Some people remove the rack in order to use it in the dishwasher. I don't use my dishwasher. It's easier and faster to do it by hand. But here's the release button for the rack if you wanted to remove it. Notice also that you have the big pad area here, and you have a front, or actually a front bumper area right here. But this is the beautiful part that actually does all the work of holding it down. And what we're going to do is we're going to make something that I think you'll like, and we'll be back in a little while. We're going to use the spiralized vegetables in a food that you will enjoy. So long until then. We just finished spiralizing, and what we're going to do now is make a pizza to celebrate. So what we have done already is I've taken a 12-inch pizza pan. It's a fairly cheap one, and I have put extra virgin olive oil on it. I brushed it on with a silicone brush, and also have used oatmeal flour, and I've done that on the food processor by grinding it up. So this is what we use. Now, what we use for the pizza is we buy a prepared dough from our local store. You can make your own if you like. This has no preservatives in it, and this is why we like it. So what I do is I plop this in here with some extra virgin olive oil in it, and what I do is I remove this from the refrigerator at least 4 hours before I use it. Why? Because if it's cold, it takes longer to knead the dough. So now this is nice and warmed up, and we oil it up and we put it in a bowl like this one. Now, I don't do any hand kneading, and I don't do any transferring of dough. Don't need to with this method. What we do is we take a round dish like this one, and I use my fingers to push the dough from concentrating in the center to pushing it out. This is the first step. And notice there's some air bubbles, and we pop them. If we don't do that, the air bubbles will get on the crust when we're making it, and it's better without the air bubbles. So I do this, then I flip it over, and I continue doing this. And again, just making sure that I can use my fingers to distribute the dough so that the outer edges can stretch out. So what I do right now is pick it up, and I'm just going to continue working this with my fingers, but quickly, because the dough is very pliant. We don't want it to break. If it breaks, we can mend it, no big deal. So we work quickly, and you can notice how it stretches. And as you get down to the bottom, of course, you're going to see more of the heft. Just get this stretched out. Work quickly, again, because the dough does stretch down. You can see it. Yes, Judy. Our bird likes this. Okay, so this is getting to be pretty long. And it looks like it's ready to put in the pan. So I put it as best I can by placing it in the pan. And of course I have some overlap, so I know then where to pull some of the dough from. As you can see, it fits in here just beautifully. Take my fingers again to distribute. Evening this out as best I can. And I take a fork to make sure there are no air bubbles when the pizza bakes. That took about 5 minutes. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is put the base of the pizza on top of the crust. And what we do is we mix two basil, we mix two pastos. One is a basil, put about a half a jar in. Just dump it in the middle. The second one is a tomato. Again, just dump that in the center. We like these pastos because they have the least amount of additives. They're fairly pure. They're imported from Italy. So what I do right now is I work to distribute as evenly as I can the pesto sauce out to the edges. And we try to draw them out as far as possible. Maybe by having maybe a quarter of an inch of crust, but we don't like lots of crust. So we're getting there. And it's looking better as we go, and fairly consistent in terms of the edge. All right, next what we do is we take some pre-cooked stir fry. Again, I'm a big person on slow cooker. We got stir fry mixed in with some chicken, diced chicken, and we have tomatoes and tomato sauce in here. So what we do is we load up and get even more vegetables here. We put this on the base then above the pesto sauce, and we run it around the pizza as evenly as possible. And this ensures that we have a lot of good vegetables to eat. Okay, we're getting there. And we fairly much emptied this. Okay, next we start building with our spiralized vegetables. We'll start with some sweet potato. And we also use the skin. Peeling. We'll just finish it out with the bag here. Next we'll use the zucchini. One of our dogs is my best friend right here. He's grab anything that falls on the floor. And next, we'll put some red pepper. Now you could run these around as the spirals if you want to, all the way around, or you could break them up. It's up to you, whichever one you'd like to do. I've done both and they both work. Probably faster if you just plop them on here. Next, we'll put on some green peppers. Again, this is just really fast. It's hardly takes any time at all to build these pizzas. Next, we'll put on some onions. And again, I just put handfuls of the onions all the way around. Again, evenly distribute as best you can. I feel a little dog nose. And finally, we're going to put on some last tier. And that would be the grated cheese. We use Parmesan, or sorry, we use mozzarella, but you could also get Parmesan and other cheeses, and you can actually grate the cheeses yourself, so whichever ones you like. Now, as you can tell, we build a big high pie. We build something similar to the deep dish pizzas in Chicago. I'm from around that area, so I grew up with that. But the pizza that we build is not heavily laden with crust. What we do is heavily load this up with spiralized vegetables, because that's how we like them. I'm patting this down a little bit, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a minute. What we've done right now is we've loaded the pizza, the spiral laden pizza, and it's very heavy. As you can see, we use a countertop pizza maker. It's the Presto Pizzazz Plus. It's absolutely excellent, and this is an excellent unit to team with Brieftons. What we have is the inner lining, or the inner liner pan, which then we can easily slip in and slip out. So what we're going to do is we're going to bake this. We'll turn it on. First, we're turning it on to the level of lower, which means we're going to be working on the crust. And we're going to put this on about 15 minutes. So we'll cook this, the lower deck. There are 3 different cooking places here. You've got the lower deck, you've got the dual, which is the lower and the upper, and then you have solely the upper. For our pizzas, we don't ever use the upper. Again, we make homemade pizzas. So what we're going to do is we're working on the crust right now, and we'll see you in about 15 minutes. And the bell just dinged, so what we're going to do is switch this to dual. And now we're going to put this on for about 13-14 minutes. Remember, each one of these machines might be calibrated slightly differently from ours, but more or less you're going to follow the same amounts of time. But if your machine is slightly different, we'll then add maybe 1 or 2 more minutes or subtract 1 or 2 minutes. So as you can see, the crust has already been cooking and it looks really good. So you see in about 13 or 14 minutes. All right, here we go. We have the ding, so now it's time to remove the top liner. We use the pizza peel underneath to pull this out. And we'll start to remove the crust. Gotta pop it on over there. And once it's all loosened up, it looks like it pretty much is right now, I can tip the pan downward and guide the pizza on to the tray here. So what we'll do is we'll cut the pizza. You can see how rich all of the spirals look. Pretty good. And here we go. This is what the pizza looks like. So again, welcome to my house for lunch, dinner, and brunch, or snack anytime. Again, the Brieftons spiralizers are excellent, and again, teamed with the Presto Pizza Pizzazz Plus. Two great things together we use in our household all the time. Thanks for watching.